Um, Hi everyone. So today I just felt that I should share something um, related to technology. Um, we will definitely conduct team meetings where we can share it over a call or Zoom. Um, I guess we should conduct Zoom meetings so that we can see in person, and more we see in person, we can have a greater interaction and a greater collaboration. Because since March we haven't seen anyone. That's my way of thinking. Um, but today I would like to talk about .NET Core because I haven't worked with .NET Core earlier. But after coming into Outlook team, I worked with .NET Core, and I just thought that I should share some basic things about .NET Core. What is .NET Core, and why it was introduced? What is the necessity of the .NET Core and how it improves so many things, its advantages, disadvantages. Moving on, I will just talk about the .NET Core thing. Basically, .NET framework initially, to understand what .NET Core is, we need to briefly go back a bit. The .NET Core was initially a single stack designed to build the Windows application and the web applications that would run on the Windows server. Then over the time, more people wanted to create stacks for other environments such as Windows Phone, Android, iOS. So eventually, the .NET framework, which was basically a single stack application, was not supporting that, and Microsoft started thinking about a new approach, how we can deal with this problem. So uh, the their thinking ended basically into a .NET Core, a new framework which is completely separate from the existing .NET framework. So this new framework has few differences, starting with the fact that is an open source and it is available on the GitHub. Um, so um, this is a very basic thing. Then talking about the application models which are present in the .NET Core. It supports web applications, console applications, class libraries, then unit test projects. However, it doesn't support Windows Form, WPF, and Windows services. So that is one thing. So basically, there is a diagram, and in that diagram, basically we have at the bottom we have a .NET standard library, which is common for all. Okay, and above that we have three components. One is .NET framework, which has inner components as WPF, Windows Form, ASP.NET. Then the second component is .NET Core, where we have Universal Windows Platform and ASP.NET Core. Then we have Xamarin, where we have iOS, Android. Okay, so basically, it is a cross-platform thing, and it equally runs on Windows, Linux, Mac OS. So this is the biggest advantage, and it also provides a new command line interface. So you can easily create new projects, run tests, and you can restore your NuGet packages. Restoring NuGet packages, it's something like which I have learned here when I dealt with the RCI services. So I know that managing and restoring the NuGet packages is what is really a biggest advantage. Then running builds, so it's an a very much a lightweight code basically. So no more machine wide installation is required. The .NET framework is get installed on your machine and automatically, so it has benefits, and but there are some disadvantages where in the modern development environment it improves on this by being deployed as a part of your application itself. That is the set of NuGet package dependencies. So which means that when you upgrade your .NET Core version, it just means that you should have appropriate NuGet packages. Okay, so now there is a live scenario that initially RCI services was pointing to .NET Core 2.1. Okay, and accordingly the NuGet packages were restored. But now .NET Core 3.1, now our RCI services is pointing to .NET Core 3.1. So now the NuGet packages are not getting installed, the dependencies are not getting installed. So we have a workaround and we have applied that, but that is just a workaround. It's not a foolproof solution. But for that we need Visual Studio 2010, which supports 3.1 version. So this is basically an overview of what is a .NET Core and what are the advantages. Okay, so basically when you just open your Visual Studio, you have an option of creating an application with the basic .NET Core, and it automatically comes with the dependencies. In the dependencies you can see in the NuGet and in the SDK as .NET Core app and the versions. Okay, so basically they your .NET Core apps basically runs in two modes. Okay, that is framework dependent or self-contained. Okay, so self-contained basically is something that is with the ASP.NET Core application. Okay, and a minimal framework dependent, it's basically into a minimal framework dependent. So that is something which is there for the basics. And when your app runs, you can run in both the modes. So this is something which is there in the basics, but we are not we don't have to worry about that right now, because that is a little bit high level of information. We just want a basic information about it. So basically, what is a relationship with the NuGet package? That is one thing when even I was wondering when I started working on RCI services, that what is NuGet package? How it is related to ASP.NET Core. So basically the .NET Core SDK generates one JSON file, that is runtime. Okay, and in .NET Core 1 and 2 it uses two sections of project configuration to determine what goes in the framework section. So by default it is set to Microsoft.NET Core.app for all the .NET Core projects, and NuGet restore results which must include a package by a same name. Okay, so the .NET Core SDK adds an implicit package reference to your .NET Core app DLL and to all the projects. And NuGet package manager or the NuGet package, however, doesn't provide a shared framework. Okay, so the NuGet package only provides a set of APIs which are used by the compiler and few other SDKs. Okay, so the shared framework file comes from the runtime installers found on various download URLs which are bundled in your Visual Studio, or the Docker images, or some Azure services maybe. So this is a relation between a NuGet package, um, which I have understood, and whenever you want to see what version of your .NET Core has been installed, you can definitely try .NET dash dash list dash SDKs. So you can just see all what .NET Core has been installed. So basically it happens that the version is always increasing. So right from 2.0 to 2.1, now it is 3.1. So this has been the version changes which is happening. So basically if we talk about the disadvantages, so what happens is like .NET Core developer basically at some point it happens that you get an error called as a process failure, or your application process failed to start, or the application process started but then it stopped. So such kind of process failures happen. Then you go and check your event log viewer, or you enable the log as std out messages, or you attach a debugger and check the application process and inspect. So basically this typically happens when you upgrade your project, or when your app is deployed on a machine which hasn't updated recently with the latest framework. So IIS encounters such HTTP issues, but generally they does not have the internal error message. They do not publish the internal error messages. So this happens when your framework name or the version cannot be found by the host. So that is the pitfalls which has been found. And yeah, so as I said that there is a relationship between a NuGet package. So whenever there is an update, there is an option to update your NuGet package also. So where you have an option called as manage NuGet package, okay, and restore NuGet package. So whenever you go to manage NuGet package, you have browse, installed, and updates, and you also have a settings. So if you go there, you can see a lot of update you can do on whatever is selected in the checkbox. So that thing happens in case of .NET and .NET Core, okay. And if you talk about more basics, I would say that it's something like I was when I was actually on a break period. So in that break period, a lot of changes happened for Microsoft technologies, and .NET Core was way way before it came into the picture. But if you want to have a glimpse of what how .NET Core is, then you can definitely Google. You can get a lot of changes, or a lot of applications, and lot of advantages, disadvantages about all the .NET Core. So I just gave a brief idea about what is a .NET Core, okay. And now as we have upgraded to .NET 3.1, okay, so I just wanted to say that what's new in .NET Core 3.1. because even I was wondering when RCI was updated to .NET 3.1. So basically, .NET 3.1 have minor improvements to .NET 3.0. Okay, but those are the important fixes. The more important feature is the long-term support, that is the LTS release. So if you are using Visual Studio 2010, so you must update your Visual Studio to 2019, and so that you can get the .NET 3.0 products, 3.1 products. Okay, and due to this long-term support only, you can have a best way to deal with the current life cycle which is there in the ASP.NET Core. And yes, so that is something which is there, and there are various internal tools which are great, which got upgraded, like grid, context menu, toolbar in Windows Forms. So this is something which is there as an advantage of .NET Core. I just wanted to talk about one more thing, that is how does this change affect the compatibility. So basically, .NET Core maintains a very high level of compatibility always. So there are when we create some libraries or when we create some shared APIs, we should identically behave to the same library which is being used in the .NET Framework application. Okay, so although along with the compatibility across the .NET implementations, we should always the code should be returned in the earlier version of the .NET code should run seamlessly in the latter versions of the .NET code. So whatever code we write in our previous version should automatically be written and should seamlessly get converted into the newer versions. So this is something which I wanted to talk about. And basically the behavioral changes which has happened in .NET 3.1, the new thing is like you can make your assembly portable when you have your same platforms, when the same platforms are supported. Then the properties, other things, changing the value of the property, return values, out parameters, then increasing the range of the accepted value for the property member. So all these things you can definitely found on Google. I don't want to say about that, I just highlighted that thing. Then talking about internal core behavior, it's like it improves the performance of an operation. For example, the ability to modify the performance is essential, but the changes can break the code that relies upon the current speed. Okay, so this is particularly when you have something called as asynchronous operation. So the performance change should have no effect on the API. Okay, and the change will be basically the change should not break. Then the other thing which is there is when you basically adding params to your parameters is there. So you can pass params to your parameters. So these are the new code changes which are there in the .NET Core 3.1. Okay, so apart from that, I would like to highlight some of the things okay, I want to talk about one more thing which I learned here, that is Docker. Okay, so what is Docker and how it is related to .NET and Docker, because eventually it is connected to ASP.NET Core, and now we are deploying everything through Docker. So Docker, we had a session, a global session, I guess, through our eVibes communications as. So .NET Core can easily run in a Docker container. So containers provide a lightweight to isolate your applications from rest of the host system. Okay, so if you are like I am unfamiliar with the Docker, so I can just brief you about what is a Docker in a very short time. Okay, so basically Docker is an open platform for developing, okay, for shipping, for running applications. Okay, so you can manage your infrastructure in the same as you manage your applications. The only significant way is to reduce the delay between writing the code and running it into the production. So by taking the Docker methodologies, okay, of shipping, testing and deploying, it will reduce the delay between writing the code and publishing to the production. So basically Docker platform is very lightweight, okay, and it develops and application and it support components using containers. Okay, so containers are basically something like, for example, Docker provides an ability to package and run your application in a very loosely isolated environment called a container. It is completely loosely coupled, okay, and the isolation for every application is present in that container. So isolation security is given on the host, and these containers are very much lightweight. Okay, so the containers becomes the unit of distribution for testing your application. So basically containers are nothing but it's a package. Your application will be rolled up into a package and it will be placed into the container, and the isolation and the security will allow you to run many containers simultaneously on a host. So on one host you can have many containers, and those containers will contain your applications, which will have security and isolation provided. Okay, so this particular is like, it's a data center, a cloud